3F Metal is a new brand of specialized metal-filled filaments. It intends to bring to its customers new filaments for a user-friendly, straightforward, direct process of metal FFF printing, or FDM as it is often called, on a desktop printer. This was tried by several companies in the last couple of decades, but all the attempts have failed so far. One of the reasons for this is that manufacturers turn to technologies based of sintering or melting the powdered metals, which have its benefits in terms of material selection and its mechanical properties, but require expensive industrial equipment and industrial environment, which are out of reach for design studios, makers, and enthusiasts who, in order to produce such parts, must outsource their production. The only current route for making metal parts via FDM is not straightforward, and it includes 3D printing with filaments in which metal powder is bound with organic material, which is in subsequent steps dissolved or burned, after which the part is sintered or metal infused at high temperatures. That processes have some drawbacks, such as part shrinking and deformation, because of the eliminated binder material, which can be compensated up to some extent using the proprietary software of the companies providing those services. Organizationally, the process also have drawbacks because a designer makes only the first phase of the process, FDM printing, in the house, whilst debinding and sintering must be outsourced. That means longer lead times and more concern on intellectual property rights. Because of that, such a process doesn't have much advantage over SLS and DLM processes, except for that it is usually a less expensive process. 3F Metal is currently developing filaments, which would enable the users to directly print metal parts without the need for subsequent debinding or sintering. So, basically, the parts would be ready for use right after taking them out of a 3D printer, with optional steps of sanding and polishing. The IP rights regarding the whole process of filament production is currently in the phase of patent application, but the process of printing the parts is planned to be performed on open platforms, which means on ordinary FDM printers with no or minimal modifications. During the development, 3F Metal has tested various alloys and metal matrix composites in order to find optimal properties for extrusion on a printer. The goal was to obtain 100% or near 100% metal parts able to melted under 300 degrees Celsius, with mechanical properties equal or better than high-end polymers such as PEEK, for a fraction of the price. Of course, a part made of a metal has distinctive properties such as conductivity, which can be useful in some projects, but also the visual metallic appearance and material weight, which cannot be done with polymer materials. The idea of the process is relatively simple. There are a number of metals, such as tin, and their alloys, which have melting point under 300 degrees Celsius, which is compatible with most desktop printers. However, the challenges were numerous. For example, to produce a material with considerable strength, better than most 3D printed polymer and composite filaments, to enable stable extrusion, which is extremely hard due to very different rheology of metals comparing to plastics, and to ensure adhesion between layers of the part, which is hard because of the oxidation at elevated temperatures. After a lot of failed experiments, 3F Metal successfully developed several new filament formulations, which are now in final stages of testing, part of which are mechanical tests and printing tests. New filaments will have high density and conductivity and strength comparable to PEEK filament for a fraction of a price. The market launch is expected to be in second half of 2025, so be sure to stay tuned for news on 3F Metal.